the history and the heritage of the Rust Belt is one of its kind of key features, right? And with that comes the patina of the architecture and the human-scaled cities and the character in which many of these towns that are still vital still have.
I don't think in any way, shape, or form that Johnstown is dead. The central business district down there in town, I think it can thrive. There are good businesses down there providing services. Do we have the infrastructure we need to cater to those businesses? I don't think so. We have all the parking down there that you can pay for.
The downtown area isn't a place that is suitable to drive to and shop. The parking areas are highly metered, and people rather go to a storefront where they can park for a longer period of time. The park itself, it's been the same park since I was a child. The current state of it right now is it's not doing very well as far as I can see. I go down there quite often.
Nobody wants to come in and buy something that's broken down. A good example is the housing that we have here. We've got a lot of housing that's 110 years old. There's been cosmetic improvements, nice vinyl siding put on, new windows put in. Structurally, is that housing still sound? In some cases, yes, but in other cases, you're just painting a pig.
But a lot of the people that I spoke with today said that they're happy that the park is going to get a facelift. They just hope that it's not an ugly, overpriced one. City Council voted this week to move forward with using funds from the American Rescue Plan Act to cover the cost of the $6 to $8 million project. More than $1.5 million has already been spent in the design phase. As for the remainder of the money for the park, they either need to use it or lose it.
Government officials, at the request of Vision, has decided the park is the top priority for the city of Johnstown, where they're going to spend $6 to $8 million of the community's money in that park.
We have to improve this area as we go to try to attract more businesses.
I strongly am excited about the potential of locating in Johnstown as the city at some point in time. Currently, the amenities aren't there that I need to satisfy my employees' needs. I think for others, companies generally look at things from a cost and a market-driven standpoint. So you want to locate closest to where most of your talent is, and you also want to have convenience for your employees.
The storefronts are definitely diminished. They had a big plan where they wanted to redo the park unnecessarily, but that was a plan. I don't know if we want to get into that or.
So the city gets $32.5 million from COVID, and they're focusing almost all of it on this small section. They put $10,000 in lights to say, look, we have lights, everything's great, while the neighborhoods are falling apart.
It kind of reminds me of almost like a courthouse town, even though Johnstown's not the county seat. A lot of these urban form around these courthouse towns that typically have a nice kind of central park. But it almost, to some degree, looks like, I would say, almost like a southern courthouse town park, because there's so many sidewalks colliding, and then at the middle of that collision, you typically have some kind of water fountain, but the fountain itself is clearly northern looking. But it's a beautiful little elegant piece in the center of town, and really kind of a beautiful hubbub of people going on around it. Obviously, there's a lot of the viable commercial structures, or this is the magnet for them, I think, which is great. Very charming architecture, a lot of historical landmark structures. Definitely the kind of heart of the town, I think, because as you dissipate away from the central square, that's where more of the kind of abandonment I think we see going on, right? Most of the stuff around here is pretty active.
Pete Buttigieg spoke to the importance of a more than $24 million grant rewarded to Johnstown. The money funded through the Rebuilding American Infrastructure with Sustainability and Equity grant will fund the Iron to Arts Corridor project.
The RAISE grant, I believe, was a $24 million grant that was awarded to the city of Johnstown. And they had Vision's lobbyists working to try to get it approved at the federal level. So when the city was awarded this grant, they didn't have the ability to execute the RAISE grant.
To date, no consultant has been hired, is that correct?
That's correct.
And to date, has any type of request for a proposal for consultant been issued?
No.
You have been undertaking some significant steps here in the furtherance of this raise grant, and we're about almost a year out. And there still has not been a request to get a consultant on board here. And when do you anticipate the request for proposals for consultants? Is there a firm timeline on that, or is it just in the fall?
No, we're issuing the RFP on October 5th. That's when the RFP will be issued for the consultants to do the Section 106 environmental clearance.
Who's administering this grant? Let me ask that. Who is administering this grant?
Well, right now, the City of Johnstown is administering it for the Section 106. Once FTA signs off on the environmental historic preservation, that opens the door to the raise grant dollars that we can then use. And that's where we'll be hiring an overall project administrator to assist us through the procurement process and the construction, design, development of the design of the project, construction documents and engineering documents.
Okay, but there has not been a determination yet as to who will be administering those overall raise grant dollars. Is that correct?
That's correct. That would be subject to a future.
Okay.
So we had to bring in experts on the state level to try to help them execute this. That grant was awarded in 2020. Here we are in 2025, almost 2026, and there's been little to no movement on that grant at all. However, the taxpayers of Cambria County are footing the bill for Central Park at $8 million when no other parts of the Main Street project is off the ground yet.
Honestly, we helped get that grant together, but it became, the responsibility and the privilege of the city government to determine what the public wanted and try to find projects that would fit within the terms of that grant. And ultimately, it was the city's grant, and they spent the money the way that they felt was necessary. Really comes down to that was the money after it was awarded was the responsibility and the privilege of the city government to determine where it went.
Originally, when I was uncovering the Afghan refugee scandal with Vision, I Right to Know requested all of their records from Melissa Komar because she worked for the Johnstown Redevelopment Authority. Going through those records, it was Vision who initially said they wanted to have the Central Park redone as a way to filter money.
We have a lot of poor infrastructure. Did the park need some minor repairs because of deferred maintenance? Yes. Did it need $8 million? No. We could have better spent that money throughout the city. We had a chance to put that money elsewhere because you could direct the grant anywhere. They directed it all towards the park. $8 million plus there's another $12 million that's gonna go to the Main Street where they're gonna redo Main Street again. They're gonna put in bike lanes. You think they'd make more parking, but all one side of the street's just gonna be a bike lane. This is Pennsylvania. You can only really ride a bike like maybe 2 months out of the year, really. So who are they making these things for? We don't need all that. We need basic infrastructure. If our town was thriving and they wanted to spend $8 million on a park and $12 million on a Main Street, that's one thing. But our area is not thriving and we need it elsewhere. We need it in our neighborhoods where the citizens of Johnstown live.
We have some people in the community here that are obstacles to the success of Johnstown because they don't want to let go of the old ways. They want to do things the way they've done it for 30 years. And that's got to change. It doesn't mean that they have to fail at what their business is doing, but it means that they need to get out of the way of the progress of people who are trying to continue improvement here.
I think the Cambria County Planning Commission is well tied in with the city already, so I don't think it was too much of a jump. I think it's maybe not the same pool, but maybe adjacent pools.
Ethan was on the Planning Commission. I think what they do is when they have people they have jobs for, they use them to put in other positions to use them as pawns. Ethan recently just resigned from city manager of the city of Johnstown. He was only in for 2 years. So I think they put these people in, ask them to do their dirty work, and then they burn them out.
So Ethan Imhoff worked for the county's planning commission. He got involved with Vision because they thought he could help their organization. He was the vice chair. And from there, on Vision 2025, They lobbied and pressured the city to hire him as the city manager when they knew these ARPA funds were coming out. And then Ethan went to trainings and was learning about how to spend the ARPA money, which the ARPA money is the American Rescue Funds Act.
Earlier today, President Biden marked a milestone, signing that $1.9 trillion relief package into law 1 year since the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus a global pandemic.
And we understood the challenge from the beginning. Communities were facing a rising tide of violence that coincided with this pandemic we went through the last 2 years. And it was happening at a time when state and local budgets were under tremendous strain.
And so this is money that's COVID relief money that could have been used just about any way the city seen there was a need. It was meant to help cities recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. And this money could have went to build a new police station. It could have went to tear down abandoned buildings. It could have went to actually even help open a grocery store in the city of Johnstown. Instead, they chose to spend $8 million on Central Park. Now, this is taxpayer money they're spending in Central Park, and the taxpayers that live in the city are surrounded by blight and crime, and all of this is being ignored because City Council was under an obligation by Vision 2025 to spend that money in Central Park.
So that's their big idea, to redo Main Street and Central Park. They already spent almost $2 million on the plans, which went to Rosemary Pavlovsky's son's architecture firm. So she's quite connected, at least $2 million connected. So they did a $2 million construction paper on paper to redo the Main Street and the park, of which I don't believe they're going to follow through with now.
The problem is Ethan Imhoff lived in Hollidaysburg, and the city had a residency requirement. So meaning if you were a city manager, you had to live within the city limits. They had to change that ordinance, and the only way they could do that is by a ballot measure, a referendum. So they had to put it on the referendum to remove the residency requirements so that Ethan Imhoff could become city manager. So the city of Johnstown used taxpayer money to campaign to get residents to vote yes. Now, the city manager at the time, he contacted Amy Bradley at Vision 2025 to help him with a campaign and create mailers and billboards to encourage people to vote yes to remove the city residency requirement. Also, Ethan Imhoff could be the city manager.
$1.7 million. They could have taken that $1.7 million, fixed the gazebo, done some lighting, done some maintenance, done the entire Main Street fix up, which of course it needed some work. It didn't need $6 to $8 million. And that money could have been used for the neighborhoods.
A lot of people like the park. We did put out, what are those things called? Change.org, yeah. So we put one of those together. And meanwhile, they have lots like the Cypress Avenue lot that's right over here by Moxham, owned by the city, and it's absolute waste field where they were just putting garbage and sewer project remnants. It's a complete mess with a rusted chain link fence. It's nasty. They don't put any money into that, but a Central Park, which is fine the way it is, they're going to put millions of dollars into.
So because council meets like once a month, city manager is the one who actually runs the day-to-day operations of the city. And they rely on that city manager's expertise and insight in the decisions they make.
Well, the city of Johnstown plans to roll out new programs using American Rescue Plan funding to help residents and businesses. These programs allocate for $7 million of the $30 million of what the city received. Businesses and nonprofits can apply for assistance if they were affected by the pandemic. Residents can apply up to $10,000 to help with purchasing a home or assisting with home repairs.
So if they're getting bad information or biased information from the city manager, the city council's decisions then are shaped by the biases of the city manager. Now, if the city manager is secretly connected to an outside organization, those biases continue to follow them into the city council chambers.
None of us anticipated a few years ago, and certainly, we've all experienced negative things from the pandemic, and so hopefully this funding will, help to alleviate some of the, the negative impacts from the pandemic and COVID-19.
I have emails where elected officials on council have raised concerns about spending that much money on the park, and then Ethan gave them a tongue lashing in response so that they would keep quiet during council meetings.
I'm a little confused here because you said it's over budget, okay? I've been saying this for about a year and a half since we started this, almost every meeting. We need to see what we're spending and how it's being spent. And we also need to see if we can cut some of these things. And I've said this many times, I'm not saying anything about the splash pad or whatever the heck it's called. But if something's going to be cut, that's the thing that needs to be cut. And I've said this many times, and we were supposed to have a meeting to discuss this. Because we're the ones that are going to be paying for this. We're the ones passing the ordinance or the resolution or whatever, the issue the funds to cover this. And I've said we need to see this as a council to review this to see if we are in budget, what needs to be cut, when it needs to be cut, what can be eliminated, and everything. And we have not had that meeting, and I'm not really sure why we have not had that meeting. You're telling us now that we're up to the 11th hour and we can't make any changes because of the final plan. Well, we didn't see any plan going forward to make a change. So something has to be done here. The state can't seem to take our request to stay in budget and to eliminate some of the things that, quite frankly, the public does not want. Then we've got a problem.
So you see who's really running city government here.
Are we the secret government? I should probably point out that number one, there's only 3 of us that are a part of Vision Together 2025. And when it comes down to it, I mean, I don't have any influence over City Hall. I don't have any influence over City Council.
They get in their back rooms, and instead of doing government activities out in the public and saying, hey, we can get $30 million for this city, what do you think we guys need of this? They go back and their power brokers all sit in the room and they go, what do we want to do with this money that's for those people? And then they go, you know what, we can build a park. We can do this because we all like to go down on Friday and have dinner at some overpriced restaurant, and then we want a nice park to go to and have Splash Park. Meanwhile, my neighborhood's falling apart.
They were pretending like it was all one project. They did that intentionally to fulfill their agenda.
They're not worried about blowing our money, like the Central Park. They can blow that money.
Right now, we just keep on kicking the can down the road, saying we're improving, but are we actually addressing the issues behind the scenes that are the source of the failure?
This is what needs done.
These are what we need
This
to
is
fix.
collapsing in. This is where the money should be spent to fix.
Council acted confused, couldn't get straight answers from the city manager. They kept blurring the lines by saying, well, we had to leverage the money. It's a grant. We had to spend the money there. All nonsense.